Hello, this is the Dove Lady again, and I have something to speak of that I've not talked of before, and this concerns music. Now, my grandson likes this music that I thought was rather wild. That's the only word I can say for it. But the other day when we were talking, he was saying he likes rap only if it makes logical sense. He doesn't like the kind where they just scream the same sentence over and over. But he likes the ones that have a little integrity and they're talking about something important usually. Anyway, I asked him, I said, well, what about that screaming thing I hear coming from your room? Oh, that screaming, that doesn't sound very good. You can't understand the words, and it doesn't really make a rhythm that appeals to me. So he showed me that video, and it's called These Colors Don't Run. And I just wanted you to see what I saw when he showed this to me. That yes, it is not harmonious. That is true, but it is meaningful. Because what he's listening to here is the cry that's coming from people on the street who see a lot of abuses, and especially people of color. And I wanted you to hear how it screams just for a little while. I'm going to play it where you can hear it. But I'm going to stop and start very often to say the words and to say something about them. So here's the screaming music that came from the room. And I will begin now. That was, these streets are paved with gold. Don't believe everything that you're told. Well, I can't read it. You can see it just as easy. This is a very telling video, although some of the pictures that he shows, I'm not real keen on thinking all of them are deceivers. Maybe people who have been manipulated in our government. But no one really can be true to their real ideas they come in there with because there's so much corruption all around them. I don't know if you're hearing the words, but when I'm done I will find the words and print them over into the description bar so you can read the words the one who is singing this is saying, because the words are very, very important. If there was a God, you would be the death of him. These colors don't run. Everything is lies. That's what he keeps screaming. And so much of what we hear are lies. And it is important that someone scream in our ears in an inharmonious way, and that we decide to listen. Because these are the people all of the deception is affecting the most. These colors don't run. Like color from the face. Eyes roll back, chemical. Didn't catch that one. Life isn't fair, and in the land of the free, you know, nothing comes for free. Jobless men. Many of us playing while others are dying. I'm struggling to find any poetry in this. Someone beat me to the line, innocence.
You fucking pigs!
These streets aren't paved with gold. Okay, I'm not going to record the whole thing in case I get in trouble over copyright infringement. But I will just talk here and say that we need to listen to those who are screaming and not just call them moochers and call them ignorant. They're not ignorant of what is happening to them. And most of us live lives where we're quite comfortable. I feel like I'm quite comfortable myself. But I do remember when I was younger and I was raising my 2 children by myself. And it was very difficult. I only made the minimum wage. And I didn't get a lot of help from like the church. My form of help came when I found a boyfriend who cared that I had food in my refrigerator for my children and me. And I was looked down upon because I had a boyfriend and that lived with me. Or I lived with him part of the time. But I was thinking maybe I was a bad person for that. Because I had bought into the line about, well, a good Christian doesn't do like that. But there were no good Christians helping me and my children, and I wasn't able to make it on the minimum wage. There was no way I could buy a new car. Or if I could, no way I could pay the insurance I would need for it. And the car I had was just about to go out on me. I mean, every time I heard a new noise it made, I thought, oh no, how much longer is it going to last? And I lived with fear daily. And I didn't have a lot of excesses to give my children a lot of good times. And I wanted that. I wanted so much to be able to buy things for my children that I knew they wanted. It didn't matter if I didn't get what I wanted, as long as they got what they wanted, a little of it. I remember one time when my son, he wanted one of these boom boxes, and I had it on layaway at the local store in the city I lived in, and the day came when I made the last payment, and we were so excited to go pick it up, finally. He jumped in the car with it and slammed the door on his sister's head. Don't worry, it didn't hurt it that much, but he was just beside himself. He was overjoyed to get that boom box. Well, nowadays he has bigger toys and he can afford a lot more. But I bet he never feels the joy he had in getting that one thing. And it was hard. I remember one time when my car needed to be worked on, and so I had taken it in to a dealer that worked on cars, and when it was time to pay the bill, I couldn't pay the entire thing. So he said, we'll have to keep the car until you can pay the entire thing. So I walked for a long while after that, until the day that I walked there and gave them the last of what it cost to get my car out. But it's the struggles that people living on minimum wage, which I don't know how you call it living, existing, surviving, taking advantage of every entitlement program, because if you don't have a good salary, we need the entitlement programs. But what we really need are jobs, which seems to be the last thing they want to do in our government, is to increase the wages and give more people jobs, even if they're government jobs. I've thought about this. What if the government helped people build roads and bridges and put them to work? And some people would say, oh, that's socialism. But contracts can be written all kinds of ways. So what if the contract with the people, after the government gets them going and gets them working and a company is viable, why not say after so long it will be out of the government's control, but it will be a company that has to be run in such a way that it never gets too big to fail. Also, that it is a company that has the workers own part of the company, so they have a big voice in what the company does, so that the company never ships off all their work to overseas, or the owners of it never put their money into the Cayman Islands so they don't have to pay any taxes. Make it be where everything the company does has to be transparent, so no one would be willing to expose what they're doing that is hurting others when they know everything they do is transparent. I think, that to me sounds like a good idea. I mean, GM was bailed out, but then GM came back on its ability to recover because it got help from the government, and there was no other company willing or able to help them out but the government. So why do we say, oh, the government is bad if they give people jobs? And what I hear is that the government wants to even destroy the jobs people have, like firing teachers and policemen and firefighters, and cutting back money on research and education, things that are going to build our future, and the people that will be not able to keep up with other countries. Not that I think competition is so necessary, but the thing is, other countries like Germany, for instance, are doing all these big projects where they're using wind power and sunlight, and we're held helplessly in the hands of the oil barons who don't want these kind of energies that are free for people once they get them up and running. They want to keep charging and making even more money, and they will never have enough. And they'll never know the happiness of getting your boom box out on the day you pay off the last of the layaway. They'll never know that kind of happiness, to finally get something you've been wanting, because they've entered into that depth of depravity where they are a bottomless pit. They have all the money anyone could want, but now they want power and money. And they care not for the lives of the people or for the environment. And they care not for rules and regulations. So this is just my little rant, because I've had this pinned up in me for a long time now. I wanted to say something. And I want to also mention the fact that young people get turned on by other young people telling them about, hey, look at this, look at that, on their internet. And there's a movement called the Zeitgeist movement that my grandson got interested in, and I'm really, really happy because they go in depth into more things. And he's now interested in things like I am, and I know it will lead to an interest in spirituality, because at the end you have to say, okay, the problems are so big out there, the tendency to want to hate the wrongdoers is so great, but yet the answer is not to do as they do. The answer is not to hate them and go to war with them, because, you know, they're much better at it than we are, and they would beat us there. Anything you fight, you're only adding momentum to. And I do believe the answer will come when we learn the power of our own selves to speak loving words and bring that light to the dark. And don't hate it and don't fear it. Don't hate, don't fear. But do visualize them changing and send your thoughts to them that we know you can change and we don't hate you. But we don't want to keep being abused by you. And just send out loving thoughts to those who do terrible things. I don't want to even mention all the terrible things because I hate to even think about them enough to. But believe me, I've heard some of them, and they are not good things that they have in mind for the average person. So love the enemy. That's what Jesus said to do. And love those who use you and despitefully persecute you, all of that. Love your enemy. That's a hard one. It says, don't live by the sword, or you will die by the sword, which translates to don't live by the gun, or you'll die by the gun. And all this that's in the news now about gun control. And my 2 cents worth is this. If you live by the gun, you will die by the gun. And we need gun control laws, so we don't want it to be any gun for anyone, because that's just open out stupid, and that's like causing people to think that guns are the answer when they're not. Guns are not the answer. It's not even the answer to those who would say, well, we might need to use them if the government comes to take us away. Like that could be something that would help when the government could use all kinds of things that are not guns, like tanks and bombs and all kinds of stuff. You don't have much of a chance with your little store of guns. So that's foolish to think that that will protect you in that way. More people, because they have guns in their house, wind up hurting strangers and their own family members that they sometimes get into an argument with, and then they shoot. So guns are not the answer. But I'm not saying a person shouldn't own a gun if they feel they need it. But you know, they need to be the check made of who owns the gun, so that they don't get into the hands of the criminal and the insane. Okay, now what else did I want to say? I've gone 18 minutes. I was listening to the news that said more households are buying guns now since there is talk about gun regulation. But then that was a deception. That's another one of the things that they say. But for when statistics were taken about who is buying the guns, it wasn't a lot of different people who never owned a gun before. It was people who owned guns already buying even more guns. Anyway, I read a book on my channel here that talks about how war is not the answer, and it's a book by Carey called The Return of the Bird Tribes. Very, very good. Talks a lot about the peacemaker and about white buffalo cow woman. And I'll put it in the sidebar in the description. I will put the playlist of me reading that book, because it is a very, very good one to listen to hear words that impress us with the fact that we need to be peaceful and not resort to war. There are some phrases in that you can use in your, if you are one who has to talk to someone who thinks war is the only answer. There's some phrases in that book that you would like. So listen to that. I'll put it into the description bar. And I will talk to you again another time. And just wanted to get this off my chest. This business of the music that is inharmonious. I prefer harmonious music, but I understand the inharmonious music. It's a cry. It's a cry out for some love and some attention. So I hope this video has helped anyone to come to terms with what the music that the young people are liking these days. This is the Dove Lady, over and out for now.